Hello, my little Luxes. I am Bagul. I mean, Tracy Lux, whoever I am today, I
Yeah.
am your atypical closet cosplayer. And with me is my best friend and partner in crime.
DC. I'm here. I don't have any smart quip this time. I'm just
No,
eh,
no smart quip,
no,
but
I'm just
you're on TikTok now. You should have
yeah,
all the quips
no.
now.
Oh, Jesus, man. Well, I mean, that was like I was avoiding it for well over a year because of terms and conditions.
Mhm.
But like my buddies, Laszlo and Adrian, man, they have it, and they're just like, "Come on, man, it's really fun." And I'll admit that it is kind of fun. It's like it's kind of fun because the whenever you make a TikTok video, the editing suite in it is actually really cool. It's like, oh crap, dude, I can do anything with this. Like, it's pretty cool.
Well, after knowing the reason why you added it was after Twitter changed all its terms. And of course, my phone was not working the best on my vacation this whole week. So I probably accepted it without actually being able to read anything.
Uh,
So,
you
I
don't really
mean, maybe
accept
I'll
them.
start it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it just kind of,
It
they
just
just
happens.
automatically
They
did
just
it.
changed it. There's a little
Oh,
pop up that says new terms and conditions, and that's it.
okay. So that, so I mean, maybe I'll start a TikTok then too, because like you said, it's not owned by China anymore. It's owned by the UN, so that's not so bad.
Everybody has a piece of it, but it's like,
Not
I mean,
so
China
bad.
has the majority of it, but everybody has a piece of it now. But I'm like, hey, man, well, it's and you're and just like Twitter and any other social media, you're a hot girl, so you will immediately get like 90,000 TikTok people or followers or whatever. Me, no. I post impression videos and ghost hunting videos, and sometimes I get likes. It's like I don't. It's just
We'll have to see.
yeah. I mean, I would put my wife into it if she could act. Like she can't act. She is terrible. I
Oh,
had her do a video one time with me. I'm like, all you gotta say when I say this, say this. It's all you gotta say. And when she said it, it was just the delivery was awful. And I'm like,
oh.
man, but it's okay. Like she doesn't talk a whole lot anyway. She's not a talker. She was one of those people who talked a lot as a kid, and her family and friends always told her to shut up, so she just stopped talking altogether. And it's like,
So she's got that persona developed in her head.
yeah,
Well, if anyone can break her of it, it's going to be you. So,
she just likes
but
listening to me. She loves listening.
yeah, yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
But
Well, people
so,
did ask her why she doesn't watch the show. She's like, why do you not watch your husband's show? She's like, I hear those rants every day. So I'm good.
she's already used to them.
Yeah.
She doesn't get to hear my side of it though.
No, I'll tell her that too. Whatever.
But so today's film is Sinister, which actually nice little thing with it, which of course I had announced it how many times that this was actually my first watch and
Yeah.
first time viewing it. So I did the atypical of what I usually do with horror movies since my hubby's not the biggest fan of them and he's especially not a fan of these ones, which is probably good. He didn't watch this one because
That
this
be,
was labeled one of the number one creepy ones out there. And I
I
watched this
really
one by
think
myself. Huh?
I really
What?
think you like this one. I do. Like, because it has a really good story and a great twist at the end. And it's like, I think
Yeah.
you like this one. No.
And he's weird about bad endings, but I mean this one, yes, it's the typical dark everybody dies. Yes, there's going to be spoilers in this. This is the film from 2012. Guess what? I'm one of those people. If I heard spoilers about this movie, it's on me because it's from
Yeah.
2012.
Mhm.
But somehow I didn't get a lot of the plot of this movie. All I remember hearing from so many people was that this is one of the creepiest movies they've ever seen in a very long time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those questions I want to ask you. I mean, I have some theories myself for it, but it's like, why do you think this film is like one of those films that's actually creepy to people? And it's not even including the jump scares that's in the film, because I mean, it does a really good job with its jump scares, but I'm curious to know, what do you think is so creepy about this film that actually gets under people's skin?
Because voyeurism is creepy. That's really
Mhm.
it. It's like he's watching
Mhm.
these home movies of people dying, and it's high. It's actually like, besides the fact that, the hidden images and the demons and the ghosts and all that crap, the
Mhm.
supernatural element of it. Besides that, the videos he's watching are hyper realistic. They were actually shot on 8 millimeter. So it's
Yeah.
like you are watching a hyper realistic video of people dying. And that is just creepy. Like it will creep people out pretty bad. I mean, and the bad guy, I guess, Mr.
The
Boogie,
ghoul.
yeah, Mr. Boogie, they call him
Mhm.
in the writings. He's just creepy looking. He's like,
Yes.
yeah, he's like almost like a clown, but not. Yeah, so and also Ethan Hawke can take any script. If this would have been a terrible script, he can take a really bad script and make it good. Like, Ethan Hawke
Yes.
is amazing. So is his daughter. So is his ex-wife. So, so yeah, but
I can
that's
definitely
pretty much,
agree
it's
with all that.
voyeurism. Yeah, it's voyeurism.
And I completely agree with that. It's because it's like, even when watching the first part, when you're first seeing the scene of the family being hung and
Yeah,
everything, it's like you have these feelings and emotions, but it's heightened when it's just later in the film and you're watching Ethan Hawke's character. I think it was Ellison in the film, and
yeah,
he's watching it, but you're watching him feeling sick. And it's like, as he goes on, and each time he's watching each individual film of these families being brutally murdered, that he's just downing the alcohol and he's just getting sicker and sicker as he's watching it. And it's exactly like what you said. The
yeah.
fact that we're kind of creeping in on him watching these videos, and we're watching him going steadily down and just declining. And because his first reaction was, I'm going to call the police. Well, and of course he calls the police, and his reaction is, this could be my next big break. Well, then he's still watching more and more of these movies, and it's like we feel like we're interrupting all this stuff. But also, like what you said, the beguiles Mr. Boogie,
Yeah.
very creepy
Whatever.
character.
Yeah.
Although Jackie, our buddy, brought up a really good point, and I loved him for it, because the whole time I'm watching the film, I'm like, why does this seem so familiar? And I kept thinking maybe it's because I've seen it so many times,
Yeah.
or when people talk about it. But then as soon as he brought it up, that he's like Slipknot, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, it does look like the mask from
He looks
Slipknot.
like a mixture of two Slipknot, because it's
Hmm.
not just Mick Thompson. He looks like Mick Thompson is number 7.
Yeah.
He is the guitar player. He looks like the other guitar player too. His mask is, I will show. Oh nope, I messed that up. And that is Jim Root. Jim Root is the other member of Slipknot, and his mask is like this.
Yes, so kind of like a
So
weird cross between the
yes,
two.
so Mick Thompson and Jim Root mixed. And so you're going to look like both guitars from Slipknot. And the whole
Mhm.
point of those masks in Slipknot is to look creepy. They don't do it because they want to look cool. They do it because
Mhm.
they every album they have a different mask, and it's supposed to represent their mindset for each album. They're getting new masks now. The mask for Corey Taylor in the last one, "We Are Not Your Kind," was a completely blank slate. It was just it
Yep.
was just blank, and it was actually created by Tom Savini, and
Nice.
he created this blank slate because that's what he wanted. He wanted to be nothing. And if you listen to "We Are Not Your Kind," that shines through. So it's very
Mhm.
awesome the way they do that. But if you can't tell, I'm a massive Slipknot fan. So, but I mean, yeah, and it looks just like Mick and Tom. That's I think, and I told him, I'm like, I think that's why I like it so much. It's like it makes me like the movie more because I'm like, yeah, Slipknot killer. All right.
That's very, very creepy. So I mean, it's very fitting. So,
Oh yeah, I love it. It's
but
good. But
yeah, obviously, I really enjoyed this film. So I mean, everyone was asking my review of it, and it's like I really want to hold it for this for the recording. And so obviously I love the film. I kept saying, oh, it was good. It was pretty good. No, it was excellent. It's one of those films where it's like, I'm kind of glad I waited this long to watch it, because now it was kind of like a little gem, like a hidden gem of, and hearing everybody talk about how creepy it is, it's like, oh, maybe it aged differently and I won't find it to be creepy. And it's like, nope,
It aged
I
very well.
found it aged so good. And oh my God, that ending.
Yeah.
And it's like, as you piece it together, and as soon as it hits, and it's like, as soon as the deputy says it, who's unfortunately a nameless deputy, he's just deputy so and so.
Yeah.
And as soon as he
He's,
says it, and it's like,
he
oh
says
my
his name
God.
once in the movie, and I can't remember what it is because really, this movie, like usually we go on and on and on about the cast. There's really not a
Mhm.
cast in this movie. You got Ethan Hawke. Ethan Hawke is in every single scene, and
Mhm.
Deputy So and So is there for a little bit, and the
His wife,
sheriff,
his
who's
kid.
played by
Mhm.
Fred Thompson,
Yeah.
Knoxville, Tennessee's senator. Like he is a Knoxvillian, or I think he's
He did a
I think
good job too.
yeah, I think he actually passed away. I'm not sure.
Oh, did he?
I don't
Let me double
know.
check. I have
He's
it.
no longer senator. Our senator now is Tim Burchett.
Oh,
Uh,
he did pass away in
Fred Thompson
2015.
has unfortunately passed away. And the weird part about it is he is our senator, and he looks just like our former football coach, Philip Fulmer, that used to coach the UT Vols and football. And it's weird; they look exactly alike. But Fred Thompson is actually an incredible actor, and he was acting while he was senator of Knoxville, Tennessee, or of Tennessee, not just Knoxville. It's all of Tennessee, but he lived here in Knoxville. But he acted in Law and Order as he was a senator. So it's very, very cool. And he's a great actor, weirdly great actor.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's really not a cast in this film. It's Ethan Hawke. Like this is Ethan Hawke's movie. That's it.
You had to have a strong actor or actress to be able to
Yeah.
hold the whole entire film.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's weird watching from the very beginning of the film to the steady decline to where the climax point where it hits and he realizes, I just need to get out of here. I need to save my family. I've made a huge mistake. Well, then him moving back home is the biggest mistake of them all because that's apparently the trigger. So
Yeah. And it's not, I mean, it's got some really just awful thing. Like while watching this movie, this is a lot like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. All right, so Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I'm hoping someone's watching this that has either hasn't seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre or hasn't seen it in a long, long, long time. Because the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Toby Hooper, is known as one of the nastiest, goriest, most disgusting movies in history. And if you watch the movie, there is no blood. There is very,
yeah.
very, very little blood in that movie. Even when Franklin gets it, and he gets a horrible death, there's not a lot of blood.
Mhm.
All the blood happens at the very end of the movie. But and this and Sinister is kind of like that because the lawnmower scene, I remember it being a lot more violent than what it was because it's really quick. It's just like you don't see anything. So it's like, it's I think that was the first one. The very first kill was the lawnmower scene. It was like 1960 something. It was like, yeah, it was
Oh, in
yeah, in
order
chronological
for
order.
okay.
Yeah.
I was like, for the movie?
No, the first one was the hanging because he
The
watches them in
hanging.
reverse
Yep.
chronological order, and then the very
That's
last
true.
one is, and they all have cutesy names. They're all family films, like oh, family hanging out, and they're all like hanging
Family
pool party,
barbecue.
family barbecue, pool party, and stuff like that. And the last one is lawn care, and it's like he runs over the family with a lawnmower, or not he,
Yeah.
but the killer runs over the family with a lawnmower. Oh, and sleepy time when they're all asleep and he slits their throats. It's like this
Yeah.
is just, and it's horrific when you see it. So it's like, oh my
Mhm.
god, yeah. But it's something definitely. And there are and straight, if you haven't seen it yet, straight up, fair warning, there is child death in this, and a lot
Yeah.
of it. So, and that's a
And
trigger for a lot of people.
yeah. And the element for these kills starts becoming creepier because it's like the realization of it's like Mr. Boogie is there when it's happening,
Yeah.
but he's not actually the one doing the kills. So it's like slowly the realization of the missing children are actually being technically possessed and taken over, and they're the ones that are actually doing the murders and killing the families, which that could be another trigger warning for people. So
Yeah. It's the first question he writes down, who's making the films. And you find out at the very, very, very end. And the sequel's freaking terrible. I will say avoid Sinister 2. It is god awful. Just pretend that this was a standalone movie. Like, jeez, it was bad. But
and it
yeah,
obviously can too.
yeah. I mean, I spent like this whole weekend was all just horror movies. I mean, one really bad one, but the rest of them were really good. So Old was terrible. Like it was not good. I've seen a lot of people giving it love, but I'm like, it was bad. Like it was just so bad. But Sinister took the taste out of my mouth. So Sinister's a good movie.
Where you feel so much better and
I think
refreshed,
we actually
and
watched
you don't even
Babysitter 2.
hawk.
I think we watched Babysitter 2 as soon as we got back home from seeing Old, and that made it a lot better. So yeah. Oh
Well,
well.
me, I didn't get to watch a lot of films this week. The idea was to do that, but it's like, I don't know, I have like no internet. So anytime that me and my husband tried loading and watching anything, it's like 5 minutes through, it would just cut off and it would
Yeah.
do the loading screen. And then it would go again. And then after like 5-10 minutes, it would do the same thing and start loading. So it's like, I'm gonna have to watch Sinister when I get home. Otherwise, I'm gonna murder people.
That's yeah, that's why whenever we go on vacation, we have an external hard drive full of movies that we take, and we don't need internet to watch them. Like we don't do the because and then that's another reason why we don't really do the I don't know, the digital format where it's like you get the little code in your DVD and it's like, oh yeah, download this movie and watch it. We don't do that because
Yeah.
whenever we go on vacation, we go to remote places and they never have internet. So there's really no point in doing that. Like if you can't use Netflix out there, you can't do that. This is why I'm such a supporter of physical media. It's like because if the internet doesn't work, you've got that little disc, and the internet has nothing to do with that disc. So
Yeah.
it all works.
And
So
I like having both,
yeah,
but obviously I didn't take any physical copies, and I don't have a physical copy of Sinister.
yeah,
But the nice thing was, it's like we hardly ever were at the cabin because it's like we were in enough of an area that it's like we would just go. We did a lot of driving, a lot of traveling, but it's like we saw a lot of cool stuff that we've never seen before. And it was just nice being out and about. Although now supposedly COVID is exploding again, so it's like, well, let's see
There's
what
a reason for
happens. I
that.
guess I don't know.
There's a reason for that I
Yeah,
won't get into. But whatever.
yeah.
Too political.
That's a political debate that we don't want to
Yeah,
get into.
exactly.
We're here to talk horror and our lives,
Yeah.
and obviously horror's not happy times, but we're here for happier things in politics. How about it?
It's I don't know. We always go like if we go on vacation or something, we never spend a lot of money on a hotel or something because we know we're never going to be there. Like we spend maybe we sleep in the hotel and then we go out and do things if we're on vacation. We are rarely home or rarely at the hotel. We still take a board game or two just in case, but
Yep.
we get trapped there or something. But for the most part, no.
And obviously it's like anytime that we were there, there's plenty of stuff to do there. Grilled out, so that was nice, because our grill here is not any good anymore, so
Yeah,
gotta update that.
use that charcoal.
Well, that's what it is the charcoal, but the problem was one of the winners, she got a little destroyed, so
Yeah. So yeah, because if we're in the South, man, we don't use propane. Like propane's not a thing. Like whenever you watch like King of the Hill or something, you're like he's like talking about being in Texas and they only use propane and everything like that. And I'm like, yeah, that's not a Southern thing. We use charcoal. Thank you. Because with propane, you don't get the flavor. You just get it's really. And they had that one episode of King of the Hill where Peggy and Bobby start using charcoal, and they love it. And they're like, "This is so much better than propane," but they have to go back to propane because Hank gets upset. Like, Jesus. No.
You know they can do both.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
that's what it is. No, but we just have, I don't know. It's we watched it. Me and the wifey watched Sinister last night, and she'd already seen it. She was just really high, so she watched it again.
Well, she knew what was coming, so.
Yeah, a couple of them still made her jump, and she was still a little
Mhm.
scared of it. But she's kind of a baby. She loves horror movies, but she's kind of a baby when it comes to them. She doesn't like, she gets scared. The descent really got her. Like she made me
Mhm.
turn that one off. So yeah.
That one, those creatures, I mean, they do a great job in those things being creepy.
I
But
saw.
the jump scares in Sinister were so good. Like the lawnmower scene, the one that you brought up, like that got me. Like you're just because it's just this little light focused on this and the lawnmowers, and I knew it was coming. That's the saddest part. I knew it was coming, and it still got me.
Yeah,
So
I saw both this and The Descent in theaters, and The Descent, I saw a lady flat out pass out. Like it was hilarious. Yeah,
oh,
whenever you, and
what scene?
everyone knows what scene that is, with the freaking night vision camera going back and forth, and then you hit that one spot, and then every woman in the entire theater screamed at the top of their lungs, and I saw one woman go just flat out, she just fainted. And I'm like, that was great. No one fainted in Sinister, but like the lawnmower scene, everyone was like, oh my God, like that. It's like, oh. But the Sinister, there was a couple of them that came out and they're like, oh, that movie was so stupid. And I'm like, oh, fuck you.
Oh, it is not
No.
stupid.
Yeah, that is a
I'd
great
love
movie.
to hear their reasons why they think it's stupid. Because it's like, if you're going to call it stupid, I want to hear you back it up.
Yeah.
Because I can give you several reasons of why it's an excellent movie. And it's perfect if you want to watch a scary horror film that focuses around paranormal, supernatural ghosts
Yeah.
or an evil deity that eats children.
Yeah. Yeah, because children are delicious. So
Children can be the creepiest things when it
yeah.
comes to horror films, though. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Pet Cemetery is terrifying when his son Gage is turned into whatever the heck that those things technically are turned into. But and of course it does the scene that you and I can't stand where he slices his Achilles
Yeah.
tendons and
All right.
none of that in Sinister though.
Here you go. Sinister. More stupid than scary. Sinister can't even figure out who its real demon is. A mixed bag of old school and contemporary horror tricks, and occasionally raises a hair prickle of intrigue, which is decent. That's a negative review. It sounded positive to me. Despite some effective bumps and frights and at least one memorable jolt from a full throttle Daddario, Sinister is mainly just a series of snuff reels with sick joke titles. The film's downward spiral begins with introduction of a completely ludicrous character who becomes known as Deputy So-and-so. A spooky, perfectly serviceable horror movie just in time for spooky. That's a positive. Why is that in the negatives?
I was gonna say, it just sounds like this guy doesn't like horror and
Yeah,
doesn't like being scared. Because he's even talking about the jump scares that got him.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And
it
then
just
you
sounds
go.
like he doesn't like horror.
Those were professionals. Um,
Mhm.
Here we go. Here's one from a regular reviewer. The movie and its main characters have no redeemable qualities. Another horror movie that can't decide its identity. It decides it wants to sort of be a supernatural thriller halfway through. And I'm like,
Did they not pay attention to the film? I mean, it
yeah.
was supernatural from the very beginning.
Some people, but it's okay. That's why we have opinions. They can be different. So, all right. Because once again, I'm seeing a lot of people loving old, and I
Mhm.
just thought that was terrible. But and people, I
I
was
can't wait to watch it
yes, I
to
was
get my
accused
opinion.
of hating M. Night Shyamalan. And I'm like, you should probably go back and read my text, because the only movies of his that I don't like are Glass, After Earth,
Mhm.
and Last Airbender. Other than that, I am a huge fan of The Village and Signs. I even like
Village.
The Happening, and everyone shits on The Happening, and I loved
Mhm.
it. Like that was a phenomenal film. But
I can agree with that too.
no, people are just like, no, you just hate M. Night Shyamalan. I'm like, no, I love M. Night Shyamalan. He just made a shit movie. I mean, man, there's and like I told you, I can't argue my point because the point I argue is a spoiler. So I can't say
And
it. And they've seen
yeah,
it. They've seen it. I can argue it to them, but I can't do it on Twitter because it'll be advertising a spoiler. And I'm like, it's not a
and we know
huge
how
spoiler.
furious people get with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a huge spoiler, but it is a spoiler. And I'm like, I can't do that. And it's like there's just one scene that kind of ruins it for me. And the other argument I had was there were times that are supposed to be really intense and scary, and I was cackling through it. It was funny to me. And it's like, and I can't name any of those things. They're like, oh, we'll name a scene that was
Because they'd
funny.
be
I'm like, I can't. They're
spoilers.
spoilers. Like, God, dude. But it's all right though. Luckily,
I mean, I guess you can DM him.
yeah, I ain't DM arguing with people. Like, no way.
It'll last for an hour, and that's what you want.
Yeah.
Oh, guess what we failed to do again?
Yeah.
What should be the life event for this one?
I mean,
This is a hard one.
I got a really
Moving nightmares? Moving
maybe.
nightmares?
I mean, I've got a really really fucked up story about like if it was being filmed, it could have been a snuff film. That happened to me.
We could go with that too. I mean,
like,
unfortunately, I don't have that, but
I'm sure you have some
let's
kind
see
of
where
nightmare story. But this
Yeah.
is it's like so I used to be a skater boy. Like I was the baggy
I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it.
I was the baggy jeans wearing flannel, like skating all the time. I would go to churches and grind rails and stuff like that. I was halfway decent at it, no problem. But so the last day I ever skated, not by I was 13 or 14. So, and when this happened, my parents immediately took my skateboard away from me and threw it away. Like I was not allowed to skateboard anymore. So, like I was just out with my bros, just out with the bros, like skating down this hill to get to a church so we could skate. And when I was skating down the hill, there you feel this little in the skateboard, and I was like, oh, I just hit a rock. It's okay. No, I was getting speed wobbles. If you don't know what speed wobbles are, they're when your skateboard starts going out of control underneath you, and once it starts happening, there's no way out of it. Like you're fucked. And so I was going down the hill, getting the speed wobbles, and I try to lean to the right to aim for the ditch that was on the right of the street because it's all grass and it would hurt a little less. But I didn't make it, and I fell off my skateboard and slammed chin first and then onto the side of my face on the pavement and skid 200 yards on my face. Just scraped that shit right off. And on the way, a car almost hit me. Like I just hear like that, and I'm like, I get up, and that car finally goes around me, and I just I'm like, oh man, I got asphalt in my mouth, disgusting, and I spit it out. No, it was my teeth. Like most of my teeth are fake in my mouth. Like I'm like chewing on asphalt, like, oh, that's gross, and you just see chiclets bouncing on the street, and I'm like, well, that fucking sucks. And I'm like looking down, and my whole shirt is just blood. I'm like, what the fuck? And my chin is busted open, skin hanging down. I have no left side of my face, like literally gone. First layer, I still have scars from it. And I had to walk a mile and a half home. Had my board with me.
You were out there by yourself?
I was with my friends, but my friends had already bolted to the church. So they were there. They had no idea where I was at. And
oh my God.
Yeah, and I was like, all right, it, not their fault. They didn't get speed wobbles and fall. They didn't see me fall. So, and one of the leader of the pack was my buddy Anthony Baird, who he died about 5 years later in a car wreck. But it's like I got there, walked all the way home, and I have not seen myself And like I walk in the house, I'm like, Dad, I think I need to go get some stitches. And my mom freaked the fuck out. She's like, what the fuck happened? She thought I got in a motorcycle wreck. And like no, it was skateboard. And my dad immediately took my board and threw it in the trash. He's like, yeah, you're not doing this shit no more. Let's go to the hospital. And I went into about 4 hours of surgery. Like they had to open my chin and pick out all the gravel and asphalt out of my chin and sew that bitch back up, which is why I have this beautiful beard. But if you look, I do not grow hair
It
right
has
there.
weird patches.
Yeah, I don't grow hair right there because I have a massive, jagged, disgusting scar. I mean, it is
Yeah.
gross. There's still asphalt in my chin because I can still feel it. I have a really sensitive chin. And they sewed me back up, and then they had to put like what was basically new skin on my face. They had to actually cover that up, and I could not go to school for like months because I had no skin on my face.
Infection. The chance of
Yeah,
infection is very high. Yeah.
gross. But yeah, and I would later like find extra wounds. Like I have scars on my elbows where I was skidding. I have a scar on the back of my ear where I landed, my ear folded, and I just scraped the back of my ear.
And you wouldn't know. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah.
And I had some rib injuries. There's scars on my knees from it, and I was wearing jeans.
Thank God.
I wrecked my knee out of it. My right knee was blown out later, but my left knee, I had bone spurs because chips of bone, like it got hit so hard that chips of bone just shattered. I didn't find that out until much later because I was like, they were like, what hurts? And my knee didn't hurt. But later on in life, there it is. Hey, surprise. I had a massive concussion. I do not remember walking home. But I had I forget what they call it, like a grade 4 concussion. It's like the worst concussion you can get. Enough to where
One of the many you've gotten.
Yes, I've been told that onset dementia is a probability in my life right now because I've had that because of that concussion alone. Because I had a almost brain bleed. It was a brain bruise. It was a time, man. If that would have been filmed, that would have been a snuff film. But it was, I almost died that day, actually. Almost got hit by the car, and the concussion was bad enough to where
I'm actually mad at the driver of the car that they did not stop to help you.
Yeah, shit. I think they just thought
I think that's the thing that angers me the most.
Yeah, I think they thought I just fell. I don't think they saw me because where I fell was a blind curve. So it's like they just saw me fall. They didn't see the violentness of it.
Yeah.
But
well, the fact that they almost hit you though too, like my reaction would be to stop and make sure that you were okay.
But,
so
but I mean, it happens, and I mean that's not the only time I've almost died a lot. Like I have like 9 lives. I've had renal failure. How many have you used? Yeah, I've had renal failure to the point of I almost had organ shut down. I've had a virus that still no one knows what it is, and it dehydrated me. I threw up so quickly and so violently that I got dehydrated to the point where I'd almost died. I passed out. When I was like 10 or 11, I was playing guns with my friend, and I thought it would be cool to dive for my gun and be movie style. I didn't see the rusty nail there that got my wrist all the way down. I have a disgusting scar right there. You can barely see it, but it's there. Let's see.
I can kind of see it. Yeah.
It was, they got it. They found where the rust trail was. They said it was 2 centimeters from my main artery. I would have died. I would have bled out in minutes. I've had a life and several almost deaths. So I've been set on fire. That was cool. And I always tell people I have a really boring life, which like if I tell my stories, it's not, but they're not fun stories. I don't have
those aren't
those.
I mean, I've been pretty lucky in my life that it's like I've never been to the hospital. I've never had any major injuries. I mean, the biggest thing I've had was that when I was 2 or 3 years old, I fell out of bed and I broke my collarbone.
Yeah.
But that'd be about the worst thing. But I guess the scariest moment I could have is that it's kind of similar to yours, where I was at my neighbor's house and there was a ton of kids there. Like there were 5 kids in that house, and me and my brother would go and play with them all the time. Well, the one time it was just me out playing with the neighbor kids, and back behind their barn, they had this junk area. Well, their dad, what he would do is that he dug like this huge, massive pit. So anytime that he would burn, because I mean, out in the country, we'd just burn our garbage and that. Well, when he was done with it, he would just dump all the remaining garbage into this pit.
Yeah, the metal that won't
And
burn.
yep, all the metal, the tin cans, glass, that kind of stuff. But any garbage that he just deemed unnecessary, he would just dump in there.
We had
And
that.
boards, yep, boards with nails, all kinds of like shit and junk were in there. And so there were a bunch of trees out there too. Whatever reason, us being kids and not using our heads, were back there playing the one day. And my mom flat out told me, she's like, I don't want you back there playing. She goes, I know exactly what's back there. I know that he's got all of his junk, old rusty vehicles, all kinds of like nasty stuff. But she goes, I want you to stay away from that pit. And one of the days I went back there, and of course, being a kid, thinking I'm being sneaky and nobody's going to know I'm doing this, I'm out there playing with the neighbor kids. Well, they decided that they took this large old, I would assume it'd be because it's one of those huge ropes where they're super thick, made out of twine and everything. I think it would have been used for like the hay bales because then it had this massive hook thing attached to it. Well, they took
Do
it
this
and they
again.
swung it around. Yeah, yeah,
Do this
yeah, same
again.
thing. Same thing. Same thing.
Okay, sorry.
Same
Go.
thing.
You're welcome, everyone. By the way.
It's nothing. You feel better. So, and they swung it around the tree. Well, they were swinging from it. Well, they were swinging over the pit because the pit was so deep, you could swing across from tree to tree
Yeah,
from there. And the
I know
goal was to
exactly what you
see,
mean.
yeah. And the goal of us as kids was to see if we could swing across to the other side of this stupid pit. And we're swinging and going. Well, here I am on it, and I am not the most graceful kid as it is. And so I'm swinging along, and my pant leg gets caught in because it's one of those hay bale hooks, and
Yeah.
I'm positive that's what it was. And the bottom of my jeans had enough holes in it and that it got caught in there. So when I tried to jump to the other side, it snagged me and drug me back down in, and it drug me into the hole.
Yeah.
And so I'm hanging from this thing. And so just kind of like hanging like this to where the other kids had to like fish me across. And I'm just hanging in this stupid pit that's full of like rusty boards and nails, glass, all kinds of garbage, jagged metal. And luckily they were able to fish me back to the other side. Well, in the commotion of all of us screaming and that, all the adults overheard. And of course, my parents are completely furious and pissed off. And that was the first and I think the only time I've actually been grounded, where my parents are like, you are grounded. And I couldn't do anything for like an entire month, I think.
Jeez. No, we had that junk pile, and our junk pile was here, and there was this, like, we avoided it. We avoided it because there was a lot of rust, and everyone told us about tetanus and lockjaw, so they were like, no, don't go near that. So we didn't. We never went near it. But there was this little puddle next to it, and to get to our friend's house over here, we're over here, we have to cross this puddle. It had been raining for 3 days, and we were like, well, we have to get across this puddle. And like, it wasn't deep, it was just we didn't want to dirty our clothes or our shoes or anything.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we don't want to do that. So we just went into the wood pile, or the dirt, the rust pile, and got all these boards, and we just set them across we just put all the boards across the puddle. And it was like, we put one down, splat, put one down, splat, put one down, splat,
Mhm.
no problem. And we would just walk across it. And I was like, well, I'm just going to run across it. And we're walking across it, no problem. And I ran across it and I felt something on my foot. And I looked down and there's a nail sticking out the top of my shoe. Like it went through the
Oh,
bottom of my shoe, into my foot, through the top of my shoe. And I'm like,
mm.
well, that's not normal. And I finally
No.
rinsed that off. I like pulled it. It was straight out of Tarantino, just rip. And I was like, all right. And I just kept walking. And I ended up playing the rest of the day. I was like, I was
Did
like,
you
oh, it hurts a little.
get a tetanus shot later at least?
I didn't think about it. And then like I went to
Oh
my
my
mom's and
God.
then she was like, do it. She was like, okay, take off your shoes, blah, blah, blah. I like take off your shoes, take off my socks. I don't know, I'm like 9. And she's like,
Probably pretty swollen.
she was like, why is your shoe, why is your sock filled with blood? Like, what's going on
Mm.
here? And I'm like, oh, I stepped on something. And she was like, what was it? Like, it was a nail, I think. And she was like, can I see your foot? And there's a hole in the bottom of my foot, hole in the top of my foot. And she's like, the f- is wrong with you? And she's like, we got to the hospital. And like, I'm like, all right. And they're like, how long ago did this happen? And I'm like, I don't know, a few hours. Like it's it happened. But they were like, they didn't see the trail. If you get tetanus, you'll see basically purple roots coming from the wound.
Yes.
It's the blood
Yeah,
spread.
because it's bacteria. So yeah.
And they didn't see that. It was clean. It was very clean. And they were like,
What your
well,
saving grace was probably the puddle. So
yeah, the puddle, maybe the shoe, because they were saying that it was probably a mixture of the puddle, the shoe, the rubber scraping some of the bacteria off, followed by the
yep.
sock and everything else. And they were like, yeah, you probably
Yep.
did good, but we got to give you tetanus shot anyway. And I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, cool. And because I actually hadn't had my tetanus shots yet. And I got my
You were
tetanus,
so young. So yeah.
and it wasn't that bad because it was like whenever they tell you like whenever you get bitten by a dog, you have to get rabies shots, and you get like 16 shots in the stomach. That's what my
In your
freaking
stomach.
yeah, that's what my dad would tell me. It's like 16 shots in the stomach. And
It's
like
just one. It is painful. It is
I
a
was
painful shot, but
and
it's
I was like,
one.
I don't want to get, I was like, I thought it was for tetanus too. And I'm like, I don't want to get shots in my stomach.
Oh.
And they're like, no, 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 it's a
Oh
simple shot in your arm. And I was like, well, it's like rabies. And they're like,
no.
rabies is done in the arm. Like it's not done in the stomach. Like we do rabies in the arm now. I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, up here they still do it in the stomach.
Oh man, they do
So
it in the arm here. Like I'm like,
huh.
ugh. Like, but I've never had that problem because we didn't. All of our dogs were those kind of like we had neighborhood dogs that just ran wild, and they were all like, "Oh, a human! Hey!" Like they were, they
Yeah.
liked humans, and the worst we had to deal with was horses. Our horses bit. They weren't my horses,
Mhm.
but they were the neighbor's horses, and those guys bit.
Oh yeah.
Like we got it bit me one time, and my neighbor was in there, and I was just feeding the horse. I was like giving the hay. That thing latched onto my freaking shoulder, and I was like, like that. And the neighbor just boom, freaking gave it a right cross, like horse right cross. It's like
Because otherwise they latch on and they won't let go just because they're angry for whatever reason.
yeah, they're just
My mom's horse would do that, that it would
they're pent
just
up.
bite her.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's I immediately forgave them. I've loved animals my whole life, so like I'm allergic to bees, and I became allergic to bees because in elementary school I was outside playing with a friend, and I was like he pretended to hit me. I was like, oh, and I fell down the steps and I hit a bee's nest, and I got stung
Oh
16
God.
times,
Oh
and from
God.
then on
Yeah.
I was allergic. Like that made me allergic somehow. And
Mhm.
honestly, I didn't even know those. I've been in med school and I still don't know how that's possible. But like I got stung.
It's the mixture of adrenaline and the venom and having so much in such a young body that it just it triggers it. So
Yeah.
it's common actually.
I'm still allergic, and like so like a bee stung me a few years ago. I'm allergic and everything, and it stung me, and it was like everyone's like, oh man, don't you hate bees? I'm like, fuck no, I love bees. Bees are the best. Like bees, if we didn't have bees, we wouldn't have life, man.
Yeah.
And I love
Now
all
wasps,
animals.
fuck wasps. let's get rid of wasps. They're little assholes, just be assholes, and they don't pollinate anything. So
But if we get rid of wasp, we have to get rid of daubers, and I don't want to get rid of daubers. I like daubers. They're the little black ones that don't sting. Yeah.
oh, I was gonna say, I'm like, we have black hornets here, and they're mean. So
Oh, black hornets are different. This is a dauber.
I was gonna say, well, if they don't, how about this? The ones that don't sting and aren't aggressive, we can keep daubers then.
Yeah.
How about that?
And like people around here are really scared of carpenter bees. They're like super thickies. They look like bumblebees, but they're big. And it's like I tell everyone, like, oh my God, it's a bee. I'm like, it's a carpenter bee. They don't sting. They're just there. Now I don't tell them they do bite. Like they bite like a motherfucker. But like,
if you swatted them, if you leave them alone, they'll be fine.
Yeah, like leave them the hell alone. Yeah. But I've always loved all insects and animals. So that horse bit me, and I'm like, ow, I forgive you. Like I'm okay with that. I was bitten on the face by a dog once, and it was just like, oh, you cute little dog. You know, I didn't care. I was bleeding, just like petting it. No, it was a good dog. But yeah, I'm a weird guy with animals. I love raccoons and possums and all that stuff. I'm like, I see a possum, oh, check out that guy, he's cute. And everyone's like, no, it's not. I'm like, have you ever seen a baby?
I love possums.
They're adorable.
I was gonna say they're so cute. They're so ugly. They're cute.
But I don't know. That's all right. But yeah, so yeah, Sinister, horrible stories. Like I'm sure that now people are like, I think that DC should wear a helmet wherever he goes. I haven't had an accident in a long time.
You have had a lot of stories of injuries. You've had a ton of concussions. Yeah. I've been pretty lucky in my life, but now that I'm saying that, maybe I should knock on some wood or something.
Yeah. Broken ribs from car accidents. I've been T-boned twice in the last 5 years.
One very recently. So
yeah, one very recently that I did get a concussion from. But that was, see, the one that I got hit on this side, I got hit on the passenger side. Michaela got it. But I saw it coming because we were in a mall parking lot, and this woman was doing 40, like coming through the parking lot, and didn't stop at all. And I saw her coming. I'm like, well, this is going to be it. So I turned my wheel into her. That way it wouldn't go flush against the door and hit Michaela. I turned it in. That way it hit the tire. And it slammed. And she hit us hard enough to knock the sunglasses off of Michaela's face. But she held on to that vape. She held on to that douche flute. But like that happened. And then the most recent one, it hit me on my side, dead center, and the woman ran a red light doing 50. And we were going on green, and she, bam, that one I got right there, head straight to the freaking window. I got a freaking concussion. No broken ribs in that one though. So that was
which is
lucky.
good.
Yeah.
At least there were some good silver lining there. It'd just be nice if people could be good drivers and just pay the fuck attention to what they're doing.
Oh yeah. Oh, I got real lucky on that one, because as soon as the cops got there, she was like, I ran a red light, like immediately, and the cops
she wasn't even gonna fight it.
Like, okay. And then she was like, give this to your insurance, have fun with that $10,000 you're about to get. He's like, do you need to go to the hospital? And I'm like, I don't have insurance, man. He's like, oh yeah, she'll pay for it. And I'm like, no, I'm good. But I knew I had a concussion though. I knew it because I was like, I had that dizzy sticky.
You should have went to the hospital just for that aspect as it is. And I mean, if you look at it, I know it's counterpoint.
What are they going to do?
I mean, yes, you've had so many now that it's just to the point where, there's nothing they can do.
I mean, broken rib, went to the hospital.
What are they going to do? That you don't, I guess just to make sure that you don't have internal bleeding?
Maybe. Well, I didn't have any body injuries. I had besides the concussion, the worst I had from the big T-bone was I had a burn on my wrist from the airbag.
Yeah.
Hit us so hard the airbags deployed. And let me tell you something. If you ever are in a car where the airbags deployed, it is the worst smell in
Mhm.
history. It's
Mhm.
so bad, man. And it gets in your clothes and your nose and bleh,
Your eyes, your mouth. Yep.
so
And yeah.
gross, man. And Michaela's went off too. So it was
Mhm.
crazy. But we got out of the car and Michaela just looked at the car. She's like, we're getting a new car. And I'm like,
Mhm.
and then we ended up with the Civic.
Yep.
Yeah, but good stuff, man. All right. Sweet. I was like, I still want a Tesla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Teslas would be so much fun though.
Yeah. We just got a Tesla dealer here, first ever in Knoxville. It's gonna be so great. Yeah, we got a
Just
Tesla.
go for a test drive, just for funsies.
I applied. I was like, I'll be a Tesla dealer until I get a job for my marketing thing.
Mhm.
It's like, I'll
Yeah.
be a dealer because a car dealer makes pretty good money.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Commissions. Yeah.
yeah. Now I couldn't be a car dealer for say like Ford or Nissan or anything like that because I don't really know a whole lot about those cars, but I know a ton about Tesla and I love Tesla. And
You could
I
sell
did,
the crap out of one of those.
yes, I did five of my business papers were on Tesla, the business.
Ah,
It was like I
well,
love
there
it.
you
One of
go.
them was on Elon Musk, but eccentric little fucker, but great.
Hmm.
So, but it's a lot of fun, man. I mean, it's cool to have these stories. Like in hindsight, when you survive these awful freaking events, it's cool to have these stories to tell. It's like, yeah, I
Or,
survived this.
moral of the story is, when your parents say, that's really fucking stupid, maybe you should listen to them and not to.
Yeah.
You,
Oh,
unfortunately, the skating, it's just unfortunate. It's going to happen every once in a while.
the renal failure one when I went into a kidney failure, that was a weird one. And it's going to be really awful. The guys are going to cringe at this one, but I woke up one morning and I mean, I thought I had a kidney stone. My kidneys were hurting. I'm like, I got a kidney stone. This sucks. I've never had a kidney stone before. So I'm like, I don't know what it's like. I don't drink a lot of caffeine or sodas. So I don't have a lot of kidney stones, but
Yeah.
I woke up, went to the bathroom, worst piss. I mean, it felt like I pissed a marble. It hurt so bad. And I'm not talking about it. My pee was red. My pee was blood. It was pure blood. Gross, nasty. And then I was like, well, I got to go to work. And I went to work for 8 hours. And I was like, because I thought it was just a kidney stone. I thought the kidney stone had finally come out and it just kind of hurt me. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. And I went and I was like, but you know what? My kidneys still kind of hurt. And I'm like, maybe it's just residual pain. Cool. And then
Uh,
I'm like, just sitting there and I was talking to my friend and who was an EMT, luckily. And
thank God.
I'm a hand talker. I'm like, hey man, and he's like, dude, your hands are purple. And I was like, oh, they are. And he was
That's
like,
the problem.
you need to go to the hospital like now. And it had been, I'm like, well, it's the end of my shift. Let's go. And this was when I had just started a divorce. And I really didn't have a place to live. So like I was staying with my parents though, being because they're cool. But like I went to the hospital and I was like, hey, it'd be really cool if something really bad was going on with me and I'd have a place to stay tonight. I just joking around. And went, pissed in a cup, everything, waited about an hour. She came back. She's like, good news, bad news. I'm like, good news, bad news. All right. Hit me up with the bad news or the good news first. She's like, you have a place to stay tonight. I'm like, oh, well, that sucks. She's like, bad news, you're in renal failure. She's like, your kidneys are not working. I'm like, awesome. She's
That's
like,
why they
yeah.
hurt.
She's like, you're going to go to this hospital bed and we're going to give you some medication. And in 2 days, if it ain't better, your kidney gone. We're taking it. And I'm like, oh shit.
That's like worst case scenario of the worst news you can hear. Oh, I'm glad I'm in a hospital bed, but
Yeah. So I slept and then it all worked out. I have a 93% working left kidney and a 100% working right kidney. So it all worked out, but it was
yeah,
kind of freaking,
yeah. Oh
it
my
was
God.
scary.
So,
Yeah.
moral of the story is just because you think it's a kidney stone, go to the hospital and get it double checked.
Yeah. And
Oh.
luckily, like I was getting divorced and I still had insurance then, but I haven't had insurance in about 5 years. So I can't afford it. Like it's too expensive. Like, and then and I make just enough money to where Obamacare does fuck all for me. Like,
Yeah.
if you make this amount of money, you can get insurance for a really good price. If you're rich, you can afford it. But there's this little middle part where Obamacare does shit for you. Like,
Well,
does
it actually
nothing.
doesn't exist anymore either.
Yeah.
So,
But this happened when Obamacare was a thing.
when it was going
Yeah.
on, yeah.
And it's like I made this little middle point when it was like, if I would have gotten Obamacare, the cheapest one I could have got would have taken more than half of my paycheck.
Which is unfair. So
Yes. And then but if you're down here and you're poor and you don't make any money, you can get it for free. And I'm like, that's disproportionate. Like, give something to the middle class too, you know. And like, but it is what it is, man.
Well,
Like,
we're the middle class. We're the ones that pay all the taxes and get rammed in the ass, quite literally.
but
And we're the only country that doesn't have universal health care,
I
and none
would
of us
love
can
universal.
afford it.
And like everyone always says, oh, so you want universal health care, but you're going to have to wait in the waiting room for 3 hours. I'm like, bitch, I already wait in the waiting room for 3 hours. So bring it on.
I'm sorry. That is a misconception, because all other countries, they don't have to wait. Guess what? If you feel
Fast
like
track.
you have a lump in your breast, you can go get it checked out. Oh, same day. They are now curious, and you can get scheduled same day within an hour to go get a mammogram and get that lump checked out.
Yep.
Oh, it's found that it is something, you are immediately scheduled for your surgery to be taken care of within a week.
And then
that is a huge misconception of universal health care.
Oh, the other one is you want to pay higher taxes. And it's like, okay, well, if you're paying for healthcare, you're already paying that extra amount. So why not just add it to the taxes? Like, dude, it's a universal healthcare would be a simple thing. As long as it, like, the one thing that I get a lot of crap from all my foreign friends is that I use the metric system, or not the metric system. I use the metric system, and they're like, yeah, you use inches and feet and centimeters and all that. I'm like,
unfortunately, that's how we were all trained and how we were taught.
Yeah,
I would love to have the same learning skills as everybody else in the world, but America always had to be different. And look, we're getting political already.
So like, I like watch UFC, and there's like events in the UK, and they're like, and weighing in at 4 stone. Like, what's 4
It's
stone?
like, what's that? Or kilos. What's that?
This is great. Miles per hour. We use miles per hour instead of kilometers per hour. I don't care.
Yep.
This is fantastic. I love it. But all
I'm
right.
gonna learn it just so I can be universal. How about that?
Yeah, let's all just be the same thing. It'd be fine. But that would mean we would have to switch to I think it's called Imperial, because or if they use metrics, we use Imperial or something. It's something like that.
No, I think I think we use metrics.
Okay,
we use.
I think it's Imperial, system. But like, we would have to switch to that because we are one of the only countries that there's like a couple of other ones that use the metric system, but we're primarily the only one that uses it. So we would have to switch. But I had to learn a little bit of that system in med school in pharmaceuticals, and it is 10 times easier. Like, it's way simpler than what we use. Like, and English as a language is another one that's like way too complicated.
Very difficult. Yeah. We're one of the only countries in the world that has dyslexia because of how difficult it is. So
we're awful people.
That's why we love horror.
We can't help it. All right. But okay, next week, I think I said I was gonna make you watch Day of the Dead.
Yes, the original Day of the Dead. Since I saw the newer one, which you're like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Which do you want to know why I ended up watching that one anyway?
Hopefully Ving Rhames.
No, actually, I have a massive crush on the actor Michael Welsh, but I've had a crush on him since like 12 years old when he guest starred in like Touched by an Angel, if you remember that show.
Oh Lord, yeah, of course I do.
Yeah. But so there's a lot of really ridiculous horror movies I've actually watched only because of the fact that Michael Welsh was in the film. So But we
Yeah.
will watch the original one. You are going to be shocked by my following film then.
Well, tell you one thing about Day of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Get to see what is quite possibly the worst acting in the history of horror within the first 10 minutes of the movie. And you will know it immediately when you see it, because you're going to see it and you're going to go, that's exactly what DC was talking about.
That's what he's talking
Like,
about.
but after that, the rest of the film is absolutely phenomenal. It is just, dude, I don't think your husband needs to watch it. It is disgustingly gory, like gross. But it's got a sentient zombie, which is awesome. So good
So
stuff.
it kind of started then. Well, I mean, sentient zombies have kind of been around for a
I
while.
often wonder if Fido, the movie Fido, it's about the zombie pet. I often wonder if Fido
is the
is
original.
no is like an homage to Bub from Day of the Dead. Day of the Dead came out in the 80s.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Fido was like 2000 something. So
yeah. So I think Fido may be like kind of an homage to Bub, because Bub is like, I can't think of any zombie that I've ever watched a movie and been like, you know what? I like that zombie, minus Warm Bodies. Warm Bodies was good, but I've never been like, man, that zombie has so much personality and charisma. I like that zombie. I've never been like that, except for Bub. Bub is just, he's like watching a cute puppy. You just watch him, you're like, oh my God, he's so cute. But it's, yeah, you'll love Bub. It's actually kind of a very long movie too. So it's over 2 hours.
Most of ours have been, so
yeah, it's good though. But your choice for the week
so
after.
my following for the week after, is I really want to watch American Psycho.
Right.
It is one of those films that is up there on my list anyways. I love Christian Bale. And also because of the fact that Ice Nine Kills just came out with their new single that's for their new CD that's coming out. I want to say in the fall. I want to say September or so.
But I don't know. I don't listen to him.
You do. You need to watch, especially watch the music video.
I have.
I was gonna say.
Not for me.
No. I
No.
was gonna say you at least need to watch the music video because it's so good. It pays homage to American Psycho and the film, and
they remind me too much of the Hollywood Undead. And
and I like Hollywood Undead. So.
I can't stand the Hollywood Undead.
Like, you have a lot of bands you can't stand.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's the difference between Ice Nine Kills and Hollywood Undead though is Ice Nine Kills lyrics are actually intelligent. Hollywood Undead is not intelligent. They are, and I'm sorry, please, I hope none of my Juggalo friends are watching this. They are Insane Clown Posse light.
The light version, I can agree.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, Insane Clown Posse is somewhat talented, and Hollywood Undead is just, hey, let's be Slipknot, but let's be Insane Clown Posse at the same time. And it's like
a mashup.
Like Ice Nine Kills is just not for me.
No.
Yeah, I like lyrics that pay homage to things like that. Like Nothing to Gain by Mudvayne is fantastic, and it's about Ed Gein. But I don't like a band that's sole purpose is to pay homage to horror movies. It seems cheap.
That's why I love this music video with it, because they literally make fun of the fact that they're you have to watch it. Anybody that's watching this.
Oh, I have.
because they literally make fun of themselves for it, where they're like, yeah, our first CD was okay, but once we came into the Silver Screams, that's when it became their thing and their niche, and that's what they enjoy doing, so they're going to keep doing it. And they love horror. That's the thing. They love horror.
I'm trying to think of the word. I've been sitting here trying to think of the word that that pandering. They pander, and I don't like pandering. But
Yeah, and see,
that
I
is
don't
not to
see
say they aren't
pandering in it
talented.
at all.
They are they are a very talented band. Ice Nine Kills is a very talented band. That's one of the things I will say. It's like I hate Creed, but by God, they've got one of the best guitarists in the world. And you know, you can't you and like a lot of people hate Limp Bizkit, but they have one of the best drummers, one of the best DJs, and one of the best guitar players in the world. So I'm like you can't. Ice Nine Kills, just not for me, but they are a very talented band. But it's all right. But American Psycho is that I remember when that came out, and everyone called it the most sexist movie in history, and it's directed by a woman.
Mhm.
But it's written by
Because
Brenny
people
Stenellis.
didn't because people didn't do any investigating. They just labeled it what it was. And it's like, do you not know that the director was a woman?
Yeah, and it's written by Brenny Stenellis, who is an amazing author.
Mhm.
And it is a movie that is clearly just making fun of yuppies. Like
Mhm.
it's all it is.
Wall
And
Street, all the
yes,
rich people.
yes, it's a very rare movie where the like, or not rare, but a very like noticeably saying, yeah, these guys are pieces of crap. It's
Mhm.
like, okay, cool. But it's a good
So you
movie.
don't feel bad when certain characters die in the film. So
And you also get Jared Leto in the movie. Chloe Sevigny
Mhm.
is in the movie. Like
Oh.
you get a good cast. It is a disgusting movie, but I thought it was pretty good.
It's fantastically disgusting.
It's disturbing, like ugh. But yeah, you know, Christian Bale being Christian Bale. So
And he's good
he
at it. So
yeah, it's one of the ones he got fit for. He got fit for that and Batman and all that. And
Mhm.
he lost all his weight for The Machinist and all that stuff. So, but yeah, so Day of the Dead next week. This will be your first watch of that, right?
Yep, for the original, yes.
All right, and then American Psycho the week after that, which, like, that's one of those where I don't know if I would classify it as horror, but it is horror for sure.
Hmm.
Um,
It's a slasher in
yeah,
a weird way. It's a slasher.
it's like The Crow. The Crow,
Wall Street slasher.
yeah, The Crow, like it's classified as horror, but I don't know if I can classify The Crow as horror, but it is. So
It's on that in between.
maybe
So
maybe we should create a new genre of just genreless movies. It's like The Crow and American Psycho, just genreless.
just throw them in there.
It doesn't quite fit in with anybody. You know, they're the misfits. All right.
And we love our misfits.
Yeah, but that's it though. All right.
But all right, thank you for joining us again and for talking about Sinister. As always, give us your comments, share with us. Did you love Sinister? Did you hate Sinister? Obviously, we're the channel where we're not going to judge anybody for because opinions are opinions. That's and you've heard several times where DC and I don't agree on things, and we're perfectly fine about just picking at each other. But that's just more for fun. But you can find us on our Twitters. Mine is Charcy Lux. You can find DC at
Death Curse Pod. And that's
there
actually my
you
TikTok
go.
one too.
Yep, he
Yeah.
now since we talked about his TikTok, so go ahead and find him on his TikTok too. Then
TikTok
all
too.
right,
All right.
TikTok.
Mm.